next thing, again, remember I've been talking to you about fire. Here's more fire. There's a new Memorial Day tradition according to what's been circulating here in the U.S. Of course, Memorial Day is our holiday where we're supposed to be honoring our fallen veterans who fought for our freedoms. Well, this new Memorial Day tradition is about, guess what, burning the Confederate flag. Apparently, there is a movement led by John Sims, an artist from Florida, where last year he organized Confederate flag burnings in 13 cities across the South. There's our number 13. This year, because he didn't feel enough people participated, he has created a burn and bury kit. So you can download your own Confederate flag at home, and then you can burn it and bury it. Now, who won't do this? It's very much publicity to get people stirred up. He claims in 2004, he presented a piece called The Proper Way to Hang a Confederate Flag in Gettysburg. This was an installation of the flag hanging from a noose. Then in 2015, last year, it was the 150th anniversary of the Civil War. He organized his 13-state Confederate flag funeral across the South, which each had 13 events, one for each state, represented by the stars on the flag. So there we have burning the Confederate flag. Now you might also have seen this piece about the Tennessee lawmaker who sparked controversy by setting his traffic tickets on fire. Now remember, we had call for the black person to be on fire. We have the Confederate flag now, and we're supposed to burn that, and now we're supposed to burn our traffic tickets. And there is a lawmaker, so that makes him legitimate, right? He's doing this, so what do you think's going to happen in the South? People are going to follow his example, monkey see, monkey do, and they're going to start burning their traffic tickets. So what are they going to burn next? First the flag, then traffic tickets, and I'm sorry, but this is inciting violence, and this is inciting civil war. It's terrible. Then let's move on to Obama. And of course, we have going on the huge issue of the bathrooms in the U.S. And with everything else going on in the world, we have to be concerned about transgender bathrooms, right? So there was a town hall meeting, and someone asked him in Elkhart, Indiana, actually not too far from where I live, about why he's making an issue of the transgender bathrooms. And he says, Obama, quote, "I'm not the one making a big issue of it." And then he cited his own Christian faith and said it instructs him to follow the golden rule and treat people with respect. I'm not the one making a big issue of it, unquote. Now again, Christianity and politics in the U.S., they're not supposed to be mixing. They're mixing them, religion and politics. They're bringing them together bit by bit by bit. And so it's not going to stop. Then we have Mrs. Obama. Now this one I thought was extremely interesting, and you're going to find out why. Let me tell you what she said in a commencement speech delivered at City College in New York. She called it "The American Dream is Alive and Well." But listen to her key points. Quote, "It's the story that I witness every day when I wake up in a house that was built by slaves. And I watch my daughters, two beautiful black young women, head off to school waving goodbye to their father, the President of the United States," unquote. So, what is significant about this? First of all, we would not say, "I have two beautiful white young women," and that's becoming more and more evidence, which we're going to talk about a little bit later in the podcast. We wouldn't say that, but we can say we have two beautiful black young women. Now, don't you think it's traumatic for these two beautiful young black women to wake up in a house every day that was built by slaves? Just like it was traumatic for the legislators, the black legislators down in the Confederate States, to see the Confederate flag waving, so they have to take that down. In my opinion, these black young women who are living in a white house built by slaves, and of course it's old, and we hear about that all the time. What do you want to bet? They're going to say we need to tear down the White House and build something else. Let's watch this story because they're planting it out there. Somebody's going to pick this up, that the White House built by slaves, and these young women, these young black women have to wake up every morning and be traumatized. So you watch for that to happen. Now, I had briefly mentioned to you about the shooting of the gorilla Harambe. Now, obviously it was tragic, and obviously, it was a shame that it had to happen. However, you know me, is it possible that it was planned? It's entirely possible. Gorillas represent aggression against humanity. And when the child fell in, then of course he had to unfortunately be shot. And then what did they say? They said some people watching the tape said it looked like the gorilla was actually trying to protect the child, and he should never have been shot. Now, that's very possible. However, first of all, how did the child get in? That's what I'd like to know. And I don't care, people can't say the mother turned her back for a second and the child climbed over. There's too much going on, so I still want to know how that child got in. So that was the first bizarre thing. Then, of course, Trump defends the shooting of Harambe. And then I did a little bit of research. There's someone called, or an animal called Guy the gorilla. And it says that the idea that gorillas can be gentle is not a new one. Guy the gorilla was one of the stars of London Zoo for 3 decades. Now, he was renowned for his amiable temperament, even if he looked a bit grumpy. Now, why have you not heard of him, and why are they digging him up now? Because you know what? He would have turned 70 on the 30th of May, but he was shot, or he died from heart failure. Here's heart failure while undergoing treatment for bad teeth 40 years ago. So why are they bringing that up? They're calling it the gentle giant. These are animals. These are wild animals. We may have them in our zoos. They may have worked with us. I have reported numerous times of trainers who have been killed by these wild animals. These are not people. They're trying to humanize animals. They're trying for you to identify with yourself as an animal. And they're making progress with that. So again, wake up. Now, in the Pacific Northwest, my homeland, more than 20,000 people are going to participate in a massive Doomsday drill. Now, why are they calling this Doomsday, right? Another buzzword. They are claiming that this drill will be scheduled June 7th through the 10th, that there is this mega quake. It's going to be a 9+ that is way past due. And once they have these drills, it seems like things happen. So if you're in the Pacific Northwest, I'm sorry, you're being forewarned. I wouldn't stay there if I were you. Studies have forecast that while 1,100 people could die from a 9.0 magnitude quake, 13,500 could perish from the tsunami. Now, one thing that they don't tell you about, and so I went on to research this onto the USGS site, they don't tell you in this drill about the lahar from Mount Rainier, which to me is just as bad as the quake and the tsunami, if not worse. Do you know what a lahar is? Because we have talked to you about this before. That is actually, I wrote this down, so be sure and explain it to you in a way that you can understand. Excuse me, please. A lahar is comprised of ice, loose volcanic rock, and surface water, which is abundant on Mount Rainier, and it becomes like flowing concrete. It can flow up to 50 miles an hour, 500 feet deep, which is 80 kilometers per hour or 150 meters deep. There is no way that anybody is going to outrun a lahar. And going up to high ground isn't going to do it, because that's where it's coming from, is down from Mount Rainier. So anyway, that's, to me, one of the greatest dangers, which the USGS site says that, but the articles aren't even talking about that. So you have a lot of things going on in the Pacific Northwest right now, and if they're conducting a drill, then it's highly likely something's going to happen very soon. Okay, moving on to outer space, scientists have recently said that they found a planet that might be able to support life. We keep hearing this more and more. Remember, when I first started reporting these stories, they would say, oh, there's no planet anywhere that would ever support life. And I said, that means that obviously they're going to start telling you about it. And now we have a planet that's only 1,200 light years away that they found. They call it Kepler 62F. And guess where it's located? In the Lyra constellation. Stuart and I have told you a lot about the Lyrians. 40% larger than the Earth, the planet is considered in the range of those believed to be rocky and likely to contain oceans. They claim that we have found multiple atmospheric compositions that allow it to be warm enough to have surface liquid water. This makes it a strong candidate for a habitable planet, and the study's findings were published in the Journal of Astrobiology if you're interested. And then NASA followed up with an image of the Earth, which it says reignites the North Pole is hollow, quote unquote, conspiracy. Now it says these are previously unreleased images of our blue marble planet showing the North Pole and what appears to be a giant hole there. It's just so amazing how they find these previously unreleased images from God knows when, and then they tell you that there is a conspiracy about the North Pole being hollow, and then they follow up with saying, conspiracy theorists say that NASA is hiding the fact that the Earth is really hollow and that inside is another world where aliens and animals that look like woolly mammoths live. Now it says these theories have been around a while, ever since an explorer visited in the 20s came back to say he was attacked by flying saucers and that an advanced civilization was sitting up there. Now in the US this might sound bizarre, but in many countries, especially where Stuart has lectured and he has met people from a variety of backgrounds who have told him all this is real. And King Tut, he just never goes away either. They recently found a dagger that they claim was made using a meteorite fragment. Researchers from the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, Milan Polytechnic, and Pisa University all agreed that this dagger was made from a meteorite fragment. So now we have Egypt being connected with space. How did that happen? Let's find out. I'm sure they will tell us. Now here's another trigger for you. This is psychiatrist, Dr. Keith Ablow, and he's also a member of the Fox News medical aid team. Now he might be a very good psychiatrist, I can't tell you one way or the other. But again, if they're putting this forward on the public, in the media, public media, there's always a reason. So his article is titled, A Nation of Peter Pans. Now you may know if you've read our work that there is programming that's called Peter Pan programming. So now he's talking about a nation of Peter Pans. It's also a trigger word. So again, Brown merger, self-integration archetype, keep yourself protected. We have created a country filled with perpetual children. Men and women between the ages of 18 and 34 are more likely to be living with their parents than living on their own. And this is the first time in American history that young people have been most likely to live with their parents. Really, what about when we settled the West? I think there were a lot of people living together. We have created a nation filled with too many perpetual children, Peter and Patty Pans. There's also a Patty Pan squash. These Peter and Patty Pans are so addicted to drugs like Facebook and Twitter that blow up their egos and make them into fake celebrities that they can feel pretty good for a long time even when their lives are going pretty badly. They can live with their parents in Neverland, use Tinder to hook up sexually with a different partner every week or every night. They can watch the Kardashians and delude themselves into thinking everyone is content to vamp for cameras, taking lots of selfies, and sleepwalking through life. There's plenty to make them feel special and attractive, even when they're going to sleep in bedrooms they've occupied since kindergarten. And if that's not enough, they can get high on marijuana. It's legal recreation in 5 states, with 10 more likely to make it legal this year. This is Barack Obama's America, a super strong central government inhaling more and more power, while our young people are hobbled and inhaling more and more weed. I see the fallout in my psychiatry office. When they show up, we have to conquer their depression and anxiety and drug use, all skyrocketing in their age group, partly because no adult human being actually wants to be coddled like a child by parents or one's governments. It wears on people and leaves them dispirited and panicking and looking anywhere for relief. Next, we have to rediscover their goals and arm them and the willingness to suffer some pain in order to achieve them. So I want to say, really, how about the Queen and her family? Doesn't Prince William and Princess Kate live off of the Queen's money, which really comes from the people anyway? And doesn't Prince William and Princess Kate, aren't they filled with selfies and people taking their pictures and being made to feel special? So what is wrong with people who want to live with their parents and help each other out? Does that make them perpetual children, or does it mean that they're like the Queen of England and her family? So again, they're telling you one story and they're making you feel really, really bad about some of your choices, but they're doing it. So you have to, again, have eyes wide open. Now here's another story for you. Again, bizarre. In my opinion, I think they're changing history on you. but they're changing a lot of things on you. In my lifetime, I said to Stuart and several people lately, I'm going to be called the crazy old lady one day because they aren't going to believe me when I said I predicted this way back when, and this is the way things used to be, because people won't remember the way things used to be, because there will no used to be, because all of history that I was raised with is no longer in existence. This is a new petition that asks President Obama to create national holiday for mixed race families. And guess what they want to call it? They want to call it Loving Day. Isn't that special? Apparently Loving Day, it already exists, in case you didn't know, I didn't know, since 2004, by Ken Tanabe. He's an interracial American who has a Japanese father and a Belgian mother. He says the loving case was never taught in school and not even in college, and I'm going to say maybe because it never happened and it's been planted in there. But somehow this guy came across it when he was Googling something in the year 2000. And so he developed the annual event as part of his MFA thesis project while he attended the Parsons School of Design. According to Tanabe, Loving Day's mission is to connect the multi-ethnic community and couples and families all around the world. The holiday, Loving Day, is named after the couple Richard and Mildred Loving, a white man and a black woman who won their right to marry in the case Loving versus Virginia in 1967. Now, to me, this sounds like the same type of setup of as 9/11. You know, remember 9/11? It was kind of strange, don't you think? That here in the U.S., if we have an emergency, we're supposed to dial 911, right? And what happened? The emergency happened on 9/11. Isn't that like just bizarre? So here now we have Loving Day, and who do we have loving each other? Someone with the last name of Loving. Again, to me, it all sounds made up. Excuse me, please. Now, it says, since its founding in 2004, this is 2016, that means 12 years ago. Right? And I never heard of it. If you've heard of Loving Day, be sure you write in and tell me, because I want to know. It says it's celebrated every year around June 12th. Around June 12th. It's the anniversary of the Loving decision. And although Loving Day isn't quite a federal holiday yet, thousands of people celebrate Loving Day at events all over the world. Really? Ranging from small backyard barbecues to large city festivals. Is there a Loving Day festival in your city? Please tell me, especially if you're a large city. Or are you having a backyard barbecue to celebrate this? Let me know. Do you participate in this? And then, guess what? There is a film coming out called, guess what? Loving. This was written and directed by Jeff Nichols. It's a biopic focusing on the love between Richard and Mildred Loving and their historic Supreme Court case. And apparently, I never heard of this one either, the film premiered at the Cannes Film Festival in May and has already started generating Oscar buzz. So, Tanabe says, Obama is about to leave office. We hope he will find this case of interest given he is interracial. So, anyway, it says when his parents married, if that's really his parents, interracial marriage was still illegal in 22 states. Now, again, when I was growing up, America was called the melting pot. And so I'm going to say something to you which is good. You might consider this not really politically correct, but that's okay. Stuart's not here, so I'll take over for him for today because I've written about this. I write a lot about frequency. And let me ask you a question. Do you think a robin and a flamingo should breed? Do you think a seagull and a hummingbird should breed? These are different frequencies. And so, if they really want to do that, I'm not against legislating anything, but what's going to happen? Is a robin going to know what it is? Is a flamingo going to know what it is? Or a seagull or a hummingbird? We all come in here with specific things. And I have a lot of black clients, and I've said, and to especially the black clients, because oftentimes they are more pure because they stay together more. So if we dilute that with the white race, they lose their purity. And if we dilute any of the races with any other race, we lose the purity and the frequency that they really came in on. For example, purebred dogs and cats, they don't want you having those anymore, but the elite have them, but you're not supposed to. You're supposed to take care of all the little mutts that run around. I'm a mutt. I have like 57 different genetic strains in me. I have white in me. I have Native American in me. I have everything. You name it, I have it. So I have learned to open and close my genetics as I need them. However, the purebreds, the pure races, those have a whole different set of something to offer. And if you really fall in love and that's really the way you're supposed to be, I'm not going to legislate or object to it, but I want you to understand what's going on here. Because sooner or later we will all be one race, and it will be much more confusing for us because am I a robin or am I a flamingo? Am I a seagull or am I a hummingbird? What do I do? And not only that, they're mixing you with other animals. You watch, that will happen, and I've been telling you about that. Am I a human or am I a goat? Am I a human or am I a bear? Am I a cat or am I a dog? I don't know what I am. They're telling you this right here, and it's happening before your eyes, and like I said, they're going to come someday and see me in my little cave up in the mountain and call me the crazy old lady who lives up there. You watch. All right? And speaking of turning people crazy, in New York City now, individuals can choose from a minimum of 31 different gender identities, many of which allow them to fluctuate between some version or combination of male or female identities. Now, I just couldn't believe this when this article was sent to me, so I did quite a bit of research on this, and I found out this is a true article. And if you can prove me wrong, please tell me. Businesses that don't respect and accommodate an individual's chosen gender identity risk incurring six-figure fines under rules implemented by the city's Commission on Human Rights. Now, I'm going to read you the list of 31 genders, just in case. And so if you're confused by any of them, I'm not going to define them for you, but I'm going to tell you what they are. Bigendered, cross-dresser, drag king, drag queen, femme queen, female to male, FTM, gender bender, genderqueer, male to female, MTF, non-op, hijra, H-I-J-R-A, hijra pangender. Don't know what that one is. Transsexual, because sometimes they spell it with one S, sometimes with two. A trans person woman. Now here's a new one for you, a man. Butch, two-spirit, trans, a gender third sex, gender fluid, non-binary transgender androgyny, gender gifted, gender blender, femme person of transgender experience, androgynous. Okay, 31 things. Now, listen to this. This means individuals have the right to, all these people, work and live free from discrimination and harassment due to their gender identity or expression. And I didn't define the difference between identity and expression for you. You'll have to go look that one up, but it's there. Use the bathroom or locker room most consistent with their gender identity and or expression without being required to show proof of gender. In other words, you don't have to raise your dress or lower your pants. I guess they're just going to believe whatever you say. Be addressed with their preferred pronouns and name without being required to show proof of gender. Follow dress codes and grooming standards consistent with their gender identity expression. Now, just in case you're wondering how to treat these people, we have Courtesy 101. Number 1, if you don't know what pronouns to use, ask. Number 2, be polite and respectful. If you use the wrong pronoun, apologize and move on. Number 3, respect the terminology a transgender person uses to describe their identity. Number 4, don't make assumptions about a transgender person's sexual orientation. And then it goes on, if you believe you've been discriminated against or would like more information about your rights and responsibilities under the law, please contact the New York City Commission on Human Rights. So, there you go. Now that you're thoroughly confused and don't know what you are. In fact, they had something the other day about a woman. They asked her, some celebrity, what are you? And she's younger, I can't remember her name. And she said, well, I could say I'm this or that, but I won't, because maybe like when I'm 50, maybe I'll be dating a woman. So then they'll say, well, you were this, but now you're that, and I don't know. So, like I said, it's all confusing. And then...